episode 5 of the Marty and Party podcast with special. I have to count on my hands now. And I'm running out of fingers. But special guest, Dowdow in the building. Welcome, Dowdow, to my left, Party. We got a brand spanking new little studio going on. Hope the boys are enjoying it. Took a lot of time to put together. But anyway, let's get into the show. We first talk about our newest friend from Yahoo Sports, who's writing some pretty dumb articles, so you'll get to hear on that. Then we get a little into some...
What is that?
I think it's a water heater.
That's tough.
I think that's a water heater. We're gonna record through this though. It's the water heater just firing on. I don't know if the mic picked that up, but we talk a little Jaguars football, and we get around to maybe me apologizing, maybe me redacting my previous Super Bowl pick, or who knows, maybe I clean it up and stick with it. But anyway, you'll hear. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Marty and Party podcast. Let's get started.
It's the Marty and Party podcast, presented by 4011 Sports.
Maybe Taylor should apologize to Burrow for not running the ball on a 3rd and 2 play that got Burrow injured while throwing a deep ball against the blitz. Maybe Taylor could apologize for calling an offense that put Burrow on pace to smash Andrew Luck's rookie record. Maybe Taylor should apologize to Burrow for him being the second most sacked quarterback through 9 games. These are all the wise words, I guess, of Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. One of the things, before I even get into breaking this down, Yahoo Sports, very soft.
Special shout out, Therese Paler, Charles Robinson, my boys, my clowns.
You take comments off your articles. So what do? We have to take it to Twitter. And I do respect Charles Robinson for responding back to us in his little NFL elitist kind of way. But let's just break down these last 2 paragraphs. Joe Burrow breaking Andrew Luck's rookie record for pass attempts isn't saying much. If your team's behind, you're going to throw the ball more. Who cares? The top 15 quarterbacks in the NFL combined right now have a combined passes of 5,045 attempts. 5,045 attempts. How many of those quarterbacks have season-ending injuries? 1. So it doesn't matter how many attempts you have.
It's also 2020, man. The NFL is a passing league. We keep saying that, right? It's evolving. They're throwing the ball more. They're incorporating college concepts, the space game, right? So 2012 was a long time ago. 8 years. That's when Andrew Luck came in the league.
And what does getting sacked the second most in the NFL happen? Last I checked, Joe Burrow wasn't injured on a sack.
Yep.
The ball was released, and his offensive lineman threw a player into his knee. It's an unfortunate injury. It's nothing like the Alex Smith injury that you saw a couple of years ago where the ball's still in his hands. It's not even like the Sam Darnold injury this year where he's running away. It's an honest mistake. It's a play that shouldn't, happens in the league. But there's no rule you can put in place. There's no regulation you can put in place. And there's certainly no knee brace you can put in place when a defensive tackle is getting tossed on your knee. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, in the article, he also talks about how you need to build an offensive line for the number 1 overall pick. Can you imagine if teams didn't take a quarterback until they built an offensive line? We would have so many more 0-16 teams. You need to get the quarterback now.
Well, I disagree with that part, but I also don't think that having a good offensive line really is going to reduce your pass attempts. You're still going to have to throw the ball a lot. You're the worst team in football. You were the worst team in football last year, and without Joe Burrow, this year's roster is probably the second worst team. You're going to have to score points, and you're not going to be able to hand it to Giovanni Bernard 70 times a game. You're going to have to air it out.
And what's the strength of this team? Their wide receiving core, right? They have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, A.J. Green, right? They have talent. They have playmakers on the outside. So what? You're just not going to get them involved?
Also, Also, he's acting like all pro tackles, guards, and centers are just waiting in free agency for the Bengals to snatch up. Like, you have to draft offensive linemen well. If you have a couple bad drafts in a row, you're not going to have a very good offensive line. The Bengals aren't going to be the type of team that trades for a high-end tackle for first-rounders because they need as many first-rounders as they can get to actually build the team. It is ridiculous to think that if you take a quarterback number 1 overall, that they immediately have to have 5 all-pros all over their line to make sure he doesn't get hit, which every quarterback in the league gets hit.
One thing I'll give him, though, I guess, to his point, build around Burrow. In the second round, top of the second round, I suppose you could have went offensive lineman. But honestly, that draft was so top-heavy with linemen, right? All the good ones were taken in the first, if I recall correctly. So, I mean,
an offensive lineman is not going to...
A rookie offensive lineman also.
He's
not going to stop that play.
And he's also not going to reduce pass attempts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So anyway, the article that we're referring to, the genius Charles Robinson of the Yahoo Sports, writes an article the day after Joe Burrow's injured. Actually, I'm looking at it now. Sunday, November 22nd, he posted this on the same day of Joe Burrow's injury. So he took a lot of time to contemplate what the stupidity that he's about to write. But it's titled, "The Bengals Failed Joe Burrow and the NFL is Worse for It," where he's basically blaming the Cincinnati Bengals for throwing the ball too much and putting Joe Burrow in harm's way in the name of winning football games, which is outrageous to try and win games, to try and have a team win games.
Guess it's a cardinal sin now, right?
Oh, we're down in the third quarter. We're down in the fourth quarter. We should just knee it because God forbid Joe Burrow drops back and has a season-ending injury. As if no NFL team has to throw the ball in games that they're down by. And not to mention that this play that he's throwing on, he's also blaming them for throwing the ball on 3rd and 2, as if it's a cardinal sin in the NFL to throw a ball on 3rd and 2. No other team in the NFL does that. But we'll move on. We just wanted to get that off our chest. Charles Robinson, tweeting at us on the Twitter after a good friend of mine, Lamar Romo, called his article soft. He got a little defensive. And really, Charles Robinson doesn't use much facts to argue. Just says, "Oh, I'm smart."
He doesn't even have an argument, really.
I have a quote from one of his tweets. These guys took heat during Luck's season. He is talking about, of course, coaches Chuck Pagano, who had to leave early because he had cancer, and Coach of the Year Bruce Arians.
Oh yeah, so much heat.
Much heat he was taking.
Bruce Arians got a lot of heat when he was getting an award for being the Coach of the Year, and Chuck Pagano was given so much heat when he was given way too much time coaching the Colts, way after it was clear that he was not leading the team in the right direction.
Yep, everyone was so mad at them for making the playoffs the first year with a rookie quarterback after going, 2-14 the year before?
Yep,
without Peyton Manning.
Losing your franchise quarterback in the offseason for virtually nothing.
And going right to the playoffs.
Now the real question that we keep bringing up on this Twitter comment is, what would he have done differently in any of these games?
Oh, Charles Robinson if he was coaching?
What would he have done?
We're asking.
We asked him.
We just kept asking him.
He didn't tell us.
No, I know what Charles Robinson would have done. He would have thrown the ball because that's what you have to do. It's so easy to say, he got hurt. Did he get on the Dallas Cowboys when Dak Prescott got hurt?
I don't remember seeing an article.
And Dak Prescott's injury, not for nothing, is a little more inexcusable because why is Dak Prescott running the ball? And what about, was he on the Dallas Cowboys when their other backup quarterback gets decapitated?
Andy Dalton.
I don't remember seeing an article on that.
I have a real question though.
What about Tom Brady?
Why is he not giving flack on Bruce Arians and Tom Brady? They actually have the most pass attempts in the league. It's mind-boggling to me. He might tear his ACL his next pass. And where's the outrage?
He is a fraud. He's an absolute fraud. He's just, some people, and I'll tell you what, some people, they look for soft targets. You see people, they'll criticize the Jets, they'll criticize the Bengals, they'll criticize the teams that have 1 or 2 wins. And they're just soft targets. They're so easy to criticize because no matter what you say, you rightly can say, well, see, I told you so. You know, it's doesn't make you a hard-hitting analyst to say the Cincinnati Bengals made mistakes. But when you start criticizing them for saying, why are you throwing the ball with your number 1 overall pick in a winnable game? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not like they're getting blown out in most of these games, which they would be if they weren't passing the ball.
No, and if you can't sustain a run, then you got to pass. It's the NFL. It's part of football. And quarterbacks don't get hurt at the same rate that running backs do anyway.
And when your defense can't hold a lead, guess what? You have to pass.
And guess what? Could you imagine if the Tennessee Titans, when they run the ball 30 times a game, God forbid Derrick Henry goes down, he's going to turn around and say, well, the Titans are running the ball too much. Right? So is there an exact number? Does it have to be 50-50? Does it have to be 25 runs a game and 25 passes a game to suit this quote-unquote NFL analyst? Like, what is his ratio that he wants to see done? And at what point are you allowed to throw the ball on 3rd and 2?
Oh, and even during this Twitter thread, too, he's like, oh, the Browns figured it out. Yeah, they didn't figure it out right away, man. They traded away Kevin Zeitler, a great guard, right? They drafted a tackle with their first pick this year. They signed Jack Conklin in the offseason, who was the big ticket.
Fired a head coach.
Fired a head coach, right? And then they got this guy, Steven Teller, I believe, who's one of the best run-blocking centers in the league. That didn't happen overnight. What, did the Browns fail him, for not getting him an offensive line in his first year?
I mean, we're also talking about the Cleveland Browns, who have had basically no quarterback for the last 25 years, and they finally got Baker, and it took them 3 years to build an offensive line.
So I'm gonna move on. We got a good conversation in on that. Next thing I'd like to do, I'd like to make a redaction. When
Is this regarding your Super Bowl picks?
I don't want to talk about what it is until I have a proper explanation.
How about them fishies, huh?
What I want to say is when, articles like CNN, Fox News, all these people, they write articles and then they say, okay, that might have not been true. So they write a little apology, but the information's already out there, right? So the information of my Super Bowl picks is already out there. And I will say, if the Dolphins and Arizona make it to the Super Bowl, I'm still going to say I told you so. Because I'm going to just say go back to the tape. Go back to the tape, I said it. So the redaction is maybe I jumped the gun a little bit. And I'm going to give my explanation of why I come out and say the Dolphins are going to win the Super Bowl. First of all, not worried about Arizona at all. I still think Arizona's got a good chance to go to the Super Bowl. Losing to Seattle in Seattle on a short week is nothing to be ashamed of. You're allowed to lose games in the regular season. You're allowed to lose games at another team's home stadium who also happens to play a really good game. So I'm not worried about them at all. I think that Arizona had a chance to win that game at the end. Cliff Kingsbury completely blew it. That
was some bad coaching.
It was bad coaching. It's more bad timeout management than anything.
Yeah, it's just it speaks more to why maybe this guy was never a head coach or didn't have many opportunities to be a head coach in college football.
He was going to do a great job at Ohio being their offensive coordinator. But USC. He was an even worse program, by the way. But let's get on to the Dolphins talk. My beloved Dolphins. Now, this is what happens. This is how I saw it going in my head last week. The Dolphins cruise past Denver. Now they're 7-3, and now the whole entire media is saying, "Oh, look at the Dolphins!" And then I could have went on the podcast and said, "I told you so." I was trying to be a week early. I was trying to give you guys a little spunk when you're talking to your friends about football that you could say, "Oh, I heard someone say Dolphins early." Am I pulling off the Dolphins bandwagon? Maybe. I'm going to go out. I'm going to say I still love the defense they're playing. Is Tua a year a little early in the NFL? Maybe. I don't think he's going to be as consistent down the pipe as I hope. I still feel a lot of great things in him. He has some really impressive wins. anyone that tries taking away that Rams game from him now, I want you to go pound salt because the Rams look like they're back to being for real. The loss against Denver, I think, is a little bit eye-opening and concerning. I don't think, first of all, Ryan Fitzpatrick did Tua any, didn't hurt him at all when he came in and throws a game-losing interception in the end zone. But I do think that I will slow down on the Dolphins in the Super Bowl. I'm going to keep Arizona in my Super Bowl picks, and I'm going to leave my AFC slot open. And I'm going to get you guys' opinion on this because I want to hear where you guys are liking in the AFC.
Well, I just love that, Tua put up a stinker after coming out this past week saying, I thought the NFL was going to be harder. It's too easy. Everything's so easy for me. Yeah, 100 yards of offense through 3 quarters. Not so easy now, is it, Tua?
I think a real issue that the Miami Dolphins has is their run game. They don't have a real run game. Ahmed is fine. He's a solid running back. But the number 2 rusher on the team last week was Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was a backup, who came in for maybe 20 minutes of the game. They need... I don't know why they cut Jordan Howard. I guess he didn't fit. But he's the type of guy that they need on the team that can go in there and get at least 3 yards every single time he runs.
No one's really believed in Jordan Howard since, his rookie year. No one's really given him a chance.
Which is crazy. I think he had a good college career. He's better than what I saw Leonard Fournette do this past Monday. I don't know if you've seen this video. There is a video of Leonard Fournette. The offensive line parted the seas, and he ran straight into his center.
Oh, he's just not a good running back.
Any running back sees a giant hole on the left. Only 1 or 2 I can think of. Leonard Fournette and Trent Richardson think, let me hit the center.
Well, it's because they're so big, and they just think that they can out-muscle everyone. But sometimes it's like, you just got to look, follow your blocks. I was always shocked about the Leonard Fournette draft, and I don't want to get down this thing. But I didn't really understand why he was drafted so early. I am not a big fan of drafting running backs early.
I don't think any of us are.
Yeah, first-round running backs don't really... They don't look so good.
Slow down on first round.
Top 5 running
top
backs.
Top 5, top 10, I think, is a bad spot. If you're taking a running back after 15, which you really don't... I know you saw in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You don't really see that too often. It's either a running back goes super early or he falls to the 2nd or 3rd round.
That's a good point.
Which is weird.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like I'd be better for it late first round, but... Yeah, but the Dolphins, man, they're not... But they're not for real. That Rams game, I'm not impressed by the Rams now because they beat the Buccaneers.
Killed them.
This just proves to me again that the NFC is full of pretenders.
It's not.
None of them are good.
It's not a pretty division.
Conference. The entire conference is playing ugly football.
You have one division in that league that is the equivalent to. I don't even know the correct words to describe the division that the Giants are in right now.
Dumpster fire.
I would say human centipede. I would say that is what
saucy.
I would compare that division to the human centipede. It's everyone just on each other's butt, and it's terrible. But let's move on. Let's move on to my favorite subject of the day.
Well, I think it's just fascinating.
Oh, it's terrible.
Also, you didn't have us pick someone from the AFC here.
Oh, yes. Let's not move on.
I was too busy, talking down the Dolphins because I don't like them. I don't like the Dolphins.
And our next subject is definitely not a Super Bowl contending team. So let's get your pick here.
Let's see. Super Bowl pick. Yeah, I'm going Steelers. Easy.
That's a soft pick.
Yeah, why is it soft?
That's a lazy.
That's
a lazy.
They're the most complete team.
You know what? Here's the thing.
Quarterback.
I think the Steelers are going to be very disappointing in the playoffs.
I love it.
I think they play playoff football since week 1.
It's Mike Tomlin. Let's calm it down.
I think the Steelers.
He plays down to his competition.
I think the Steelers are a very lazy pick, and I feel like
lazy.
It's a lazy pick.
My pick's not lazy.
What's your pick? Let's hear it.
My pick's a dark horse. They have beaten the Super Bowl champ
Don't
this year.
say Raiders.
And they lost by 4
Yeah, it
to the
has to be
Super
the
Bowl
Raiders.
champs
Oh,
this year.
no.
And it is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Ooh,
Now,
Marcus Mariota and the backup quarterback comes in for the
here's
Raiders.
here's my rationale. Here's
Okay.
my rationale.
Defense can't
There's-
stop
there
a
can't be a
nosebleed.
rationale, but I love it.
I think that they can their offense is good enough to go against anyone in the league. I think we've seen that in both games with the Chiefs. Defense, clearly an issue.
Wow, I mean that's what you love to see in playoff football.
I love it.
When
Love
the
it.
defense stinks.
But it's Gruden.
Great coach.
It's John Gruden.
Intense.
He is going to find the way in the playoffs. Whether he's going to start paying players to do stuff remains to be seen.
Bountygate.
Maybe not
What's the point you're making here? What are you getting at?
Yeah,
here?
we got.
I'm saying that
I'm
they're
not sure.
absolutely going to be fired up.
It
if
just sounds like a gut feeling.
Maybe he's
John
gonna smash a watermelon.
John
or two.
Gruden's first
Racist.
playoff appearance return with the Raiders, they're going at least AFC Championship, if not winning the whole thing.
They're not. Ugh.
It's a stretch.
They're-
It's a stretch.
it's
It's a
definitely
stretch. It's
a
a stretch.
stretch.
I love it because it's not the Steelers. What a soft pick.
Soft.
What a soft. I can't get over it.
I think the Steelers have
pre-meeting,
a tough,
I was like-
tough time against both the
Yeah.
Chiefs and the Raiders.
Yeah, I asked the boys before we started recording. I said, listen,
Oh,
I think
I'm-
both have he has a tough time against the AFC West.
you think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I asked the boys before we started recording. I said, listen, I'm not going to change my pick to the Steelers because I think it's soft, and I didn't want to know what they were picking because I wanted to hear it live.
This
And then
is
Brian
all
just
libel.
comes out and
I didn't-
says,
he didn't say this.
Brian just comes out and says, Steelers.
Yeah. Best team in the
That
NFL.
hurts.
I don't think the AFC East ready at all this year. I think the Bills and Dolphins are still a couple years away.
Now, what if the Ravens beat the Steelers? Are you going to waver on that?
Me? No.
No. So Steelers go to 10-1, and they lose to the Ravens.
I don't think they will.
It depends
But if
on
they
how.
do,
If they get
because-
smacked by the Ravens,
because I'll be a man-
I will officially be calling them the biggest pretenders of all
Yeah,
time.
because
That would be rough if they get smacked by the Ravens.
well,
punched in the
I
mouth.
come on the podcast a week after I proclaim the Dolphins the 2020 Super Bowl champions, and they lose, and I come up, I swallow my pride, kind of, and I say I was wrong. Would you do the same thing with the Steelers, or are you going to stick with them?
No, I'll stick with them.
You're going to stick with them the
I'll
rest of the way,
Again,
barring injury
and if they get smacked.
by the Ravens.
If they get 21
If it's
by
like
the Ravens,
42-0, then yeah, I'm gonna be like, oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna root for the
Ooh.
Ravens so hard this week.
see, I
This
can't do that.
podcast
Can't do
would
that,
be
man.
so good if you have to come on and just apologize.
No way. dude.
Apologize to the beloved fans.
Well, first of all, the Steelers players aren't happy that the game's moved, right? So they're already gonna be ticked off. So this game has an edge always because it's Steelers, Ravens. But that extra edge, I'm telling you, man, with this loss, the Ravens will be eliminated from playoff contention, and then we can finally stop talking about Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Tannehill. That's what I saw last week. But let's
Lamar
move on.
Overrated.
Let's move on. The last subject of the day. I don't care about the Jaguars at all. I'm going to start by that. I don't care about them as long as they're not being blatantly stupid. Jake Luton trotting out there for 4 straight weeks instead of playing Gardner Minshew is insane.
I don't get it.
It makes no sense.
At first, it was to
Has-
save his job, Doug Marrone.
Pat, look up if Jake Lutton's passed on 200, had a 200-yard game yet.
He has.
Yes, he did. He had a 300-yard game against the Texans where he had only 1 touchdown and one interception.
Very impressive game.
Oh, very impressive.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
I just
Has he won yet? No.
I don't know what they're doing. They're not in a great spot.
But everyone's saying, oh, well, they sat Minshew because Doug Marone's trying to save his job. Is saving your job putting out Jake Luton?
No.
What the heck? What the hell can
I was
you
about to
say?
say, if you're
What
not
the
gonna say
what
hell,
the
what are we
heckity
doing?
hell can you say? I'm trotting out Jake Luton because he looks like the better quarterback. What are you seeing? What are you looking at? Are you trying to lose? Are you trying to just
They're a
play as
mess.
boring?
They have to be trying to get Trevor Lawrence. That's my only...
Yeah, they're tanking.
Because Gardner Minshew was completing 66% of his throws, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
With a year behind him last year.
And they were losing. Jake Luton, in 3 games, has a 54% completion percentage with 2 touchdowns and 6 interceptions.
Oh.
4 of them came against the
Steelers. And he can't run.
Jake Luton would be the best Rutgers quarterback of all time.
It makes no sense to play this guy. And like I said, we don't watch a lot of Jaguars.
As an organization, right, I don't know how you can commit to this kind of move. So you're basically banking on the Jets maybe squeaking out a win, right, or 2, and you lose out, so you get the quarterback. And if that doesn't happen, maybe you're getting a guy you don't really believe in. You're stuck at 2.
If you play Gardner Minshew and he looks somewhat good, even if you get a top 5
they
pick,
think they've seen enough, man. They don't want him.
But you can move him somewhere else. You're not going to get a first-round pick from him. You're probably not going to get a second-round pick. But you're going to be able to acquire assets from him. There's nothing that you're going to get.
Not equivalent to a top 5 pick, though. I don't think so.
You're still going to have a top 5 pick. That team is not winning.
I mean, definitely not with Luton on the field.
Well, no, with Luton on the field, you might as well just lose.
They had the 7th pick last year?
I believe they had the 9th pick, and they took C.J. Henderson.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? Gardner Minshew is... He's a player in this league. He is an NFL quarterback. He can get you out of that top 5, and I think that's a risk they're not willing to take.
I think that the Doug Marrone and David Caldwell, the GM, both have to get tossed this year.
It's so bad over there.
Tom Coughlin's already gone, right?
I believe so.
They used him as the scapegoat for this thing falling apart earlier.
They went to the AFC Championship game a few years ago, and they have had the biggest drop-off I have seen in a long time.
They spent a lot of money to get there. They, with those contracts when they signed, who's the cornerback that's on Denver? AJ Boye. They spent a lot of money and used a lot of capital on win-now pieces, and it fell apart as fast as it could.
The worst part is they didn't even keep their promising young pieces. You had Allen Robinson, who was a stud. You had Yannick Ngakoue, who got so fed up with the ineptitude of your organization that he was celebrating the day he left.
Jalen Ramsey demands to leave.
Jalen Ramsey, yep.
One of the best quarterbacks. But let's move on. The best part of the game. Now I'm going to say we went 1-1 and I guess we went 1-1 on our best bets last week. It sometimes when you're king and you're as hot as it can be, it takes a tragedy to knock you off your game. If Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt last week, we're over here saying we're 7-0-1.
Correct.
7-0-1 would have been the easiest 7-0-1 ever. Joe Burrow's on his way. He's in the lead in the second half. Breaks his leg, and then they put out a quarterback has a 47% completion percentage.
Hey, don't worry, they're replacing him with a guy with a 46%.
I did say that they couldn't play a guy with 47.
You did. And
I turned to Brian. I said, no way this guy starts next week. He has 47. Brian texted me this week. He says, well, they moved to a guy with 46. I had to think about it as the statement still is true.
It is true.
It doesn't make any sense this way.
Brandon Allen.
But that's Bengals football. But
One thing on Joe Burrow, though, outside the money and the betting, it's really sad to see the guy he's looked great over the first 10 weeks of the season go down like this. Wishing him all the best.
Yeah, a little special prayer out to Joe Burrow. A shout out before we get to our bets, though. A shout out to my buddy, not really my buddy, but I love him. Loved him in the XFL. PJ Walker.
The second.
First NFL win. Product of Temple. I believe he is from New Jersey.
Can you confirm that, Pat?
I believe when we watched him in the XFL, they said PJ Walker from New Jersey. And at the time, I can't remember what team I was rooting for. I was rooting for whatever Jordan Ta'amu was playing for. Moved right over to PJ Walker.
I can confirm he is from Elizabeth, New Jersey. Went to Elizabeth High School.
Amazing.
New Jersey in
on
the NFL. We had 2 quarterbacks from New Jersey starting in the NFL last week. Can you name the other one? Anyone? Voorhees.
Oh, yeah, it's slipping my mind. I can't.
New York Jets.
Yep.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
he's
from New Jersey.
He's very disrespectfully didn't go to Rutgers.
West Essex beat him.
Udell stinks.
But anyway,
Are they turtles or something? They're not even the terrapins.
No,
That's Maryland.
they're the blue hens or some nonsense.
So
They're definitely a Oh no, Udell is a bird. You're right.
So I'm gonna pass it to Pat for the upset game of the week. I like this
one
game.
more thing though. I love me some Temple on Temple action, and that's what you're getting with PJ Walker and Robbie Anderson. All right, they both played at Temple together. They had their best seasons together. You didn't really see the connection so much last game because DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel were wide open. But I think you're definitely going to see a lot more from Robbie Anderson this week. So yeah, Panthers.
Now let's go to the upset game of the week. I'm gonna pass it along to Pat. This one's a plus 340. This was not an easy. There's not a lot of games to pick here. I think we had 4 or 5 games that we could have taken from. 3 of them you don't want to touch them with a 6-foot pole, and then this one kind of palatable. And then as me, Brian, and Pat were going over the numbers, we started to fall in love.
All right, yeah. The upset pick of the week this week is the Chicago Bears over the Green Bay Packers. The Packers just lost in brutal fashion to the Colts. I think that the Bears defense very similar to the Colts, if not better. Mitch Trubisky possibly coming back. I think that absolutely elevates them to upset pick
Playing
material.
for his life.
Playing for his career. Absolutely playing for his career.
Contract. He's playing for whoever he's going to be on next year. He's trying to impress
Not
some
going to be the
GM,
Bears.
some coach. Yeah, that is not in that building.
A little Matt Flynn game. Remember when Matt Flynn got that nice little contract from Seattle?
Threw 4 touchdowns in the last week of the season. And yep. So, absolutely.
Hilarious. They drafted Russell Wilson that same year.
Third rounder.
The Bears have the receivers to pull it off. They can't cover Allen Robinson, Mooney, Anthony Miller. They can't Cole Kmet. They can't cover all of them at once.
Well, I mean, is Matt Nagy going to use them?
I hope so.
The biggest block.
Coaching for his life. It's a for his life game. Quarterback playing for his life. Coach coaching for his life.
If Matt Nagy wins this game, he probably wins himself another year of as head coach.
Extend him.
Definitely not extend him.
Extend him.
He'll get
Give
one more
Matt Nagy a quarterback. Now we're gonna move. So we all like that game. We're gonna move to the game of the week. This one I love this game. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. After seeing the Bengals in the second half last week against a team that I think is worse than the Giants, to get the Giants with only 5.5, a one touchdown wins. 1 touchdown covers. The Bengals have a quarterback that's throwing 46%. He's not going to move the ball at all against the Giants.
Joe Mixon's out.
I get the Giants minus 5.5. The Giants were playing for something.
I will say this. It will be a very, very bad loss for the Giants. I think this is a must-win for Joe Judge, Dave Gettleman, and I think they're going to come away with it. I think easy money. Minus 5.5.
I don't know how. I think if Joe Burrow's playing this game, it's a 3.5 spread for the Giants.
Maybe 2.5.
Well, it was 1.5 against the Redskins.
Ooh.
Remember that last week?
Oh,
that was the game we missed.
True.
It was 1.5. I think you give the Giants 3.5 with Joe Burrow. Now you take out the number 1 overall pick in the NFL and you put in a practice squad quarterback.
5.5. Yeah,
that's
makes 5.5.
sense.
Numbers make sense.
And that's I think that's an easy game. And now our over/under game of the week. Always take the over. We were debating taking it under this week, and I think we debated that 2 weeks ago, and it just doesn't feel right. So then we really started searching for games, and we found a game moved from Thursday to Sunday. What is it, 46.5 in the Steelers-Ravens game? Is that right?
44 or
44.5, I believe.
44, even lower.
I love it.
So you get the Steelers' high-flying offense, the Ravens, who potentially might not be able to run the ball, so they're going to have to throw the ball. It's just going to be an airing-out fest. And then all I have to do is have 44 points.
I think that's
Plus
very
1.
doable. I love that over. It's a low number because, I mean, you see some of these games and, oof, what was the one that we scoffed at? It was 51 points.
It was the Browns, Jaguars over under at 51.
Yeah, that's
That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points. And then somehow you get two offenses that are just as good.
Better.
And you get less points. And the Ravens, as much as I love ragging on them, and I can already tell you next week,
Can't
if
wait.
they lose,
It's gonna be.
we're not going to talk to Brian about Super Bowl picks. We're just gonna talk about how bad the Ravens are.
Might be 20 straight minutes of only ripping the Baltimore
There will
Ravens.
be no prep done. There will be no prep. We won't have to talk
don't
about
need
it. We're just going to sit here and have a nice heart-to-heart about how much the Ravens have fooled the entire country up until now.
Hey, one thing that may come out of it from a Ravens loss here, the nice little potential of John Harbaugh being available this offseason.
Oh, could you imagine if the Jets get to
Oh.
hire Jim and John?
I can't. I can't.
Jim
imagine
Harbaugh to the Jets.
can't
I haven't
imagine
thought of
the
a good hashtag yet.
Ravens, organization let him go. There's no way, right? But hey, it's the NFL.
Nah, he's not going anywhere.
I know, but
He's not going anywhere.
I
Anyway,
can dream.
Brian can dream.
Oh, and for what it's worth, I know last week I was definitely against our upset pick for the Jets over the Chargers. But I will say this: if there's a week to pick the Jets, this is it.
Brian's a Dolphins hater.
Anyway, I'm telling you, this is the win.
It was a good.
If they're getting one, this is it.
I think we had another good show. I think this is episode number 5. And thank you for listening. Look forward to hearing your comments, concerns. And hopefully we get to see the Dolphins, Titans, and Arizona Cardinals all get a win this week.
Not the fish.
Not the fish. I don't know what they...
Again, special thank you. Charles Robinson, Therese Paler, thank you so much.
Clowns.
Yeah. Maybe next time when they write an article, they can actually, use their heads. But anyway, good talking to you all. See you next week. Ba-ba-bum.